My mum Francoise made the most amazing deep fried choux pastry the other day. They were so delicious that I had to share the recipe. So these are called Pignatelles. Essentially, it's savoury choux pastry that have been deep fried. They kind of look like donuts, but savoury donuts that are absolutely delicious. Pretty easy recipe to remember. So we've got some water in here. This is a classic choux pastry recipe. We need to melt the water and the butter together. So in with our butter. And that'll start to melt straight away. Into this pot, I'll also add a pinch of salt. Now, this is the basis of a choux pastry. I'm adding some Gruyere cheese and some ham, but you can make these into mushroom pignatelles. You can change up the cheese. You could also add some spinach to it. There are many different varieties of pignatelles. This butter has melted nicely, so in with the flour. Now the flour you use is important too. I'm using a soft, low protein plain flour, and the reason I use that is because it's the perfect texture to make choux pastry. So you'll need 3/4 of a cup. So in with the first one, that's 1/4 cup. 1, 2, and 3. And while it's on the heat, you need to use a bit of elbow grease here just to mix and incorporate everything. And then we're going to cook off the flour and allow some of that liquid to evaporate. So keep mixing it. Once it starts to form a ball, then it'll start to stick to the base of the pot. That's a really good indication of taking it off the heat. So see how it's just coming together now? It almost looks a bit gluey, but that's okay. And I know I do have a really good non-stick pan here, so it doesn't stick as much, but you still want to kind of hear a bit of a sizzle. So cook that off for about a minute and keep stirring at the same time. And then once it's looking like this, we're ready to add our eggs. Now you want to add the eggs one at a time, so just take it off the heat. And we'll start with 1 egg. And again, we're going to really incorporate it well. So break that egg up and keep stirring. And after that's incorporated, and that might take a minute, we'll add another egg and then the 3rd egg. Okay, all the eggs have been incorporated and you can see how glossy that is. That's what we're after. That's just right. And you got to work out in between it, which means you can eat more of these delicious fried goodies. So in with our ham, we'll just sprinkle that in. And our Gruyere cheese. If you can't find Gruyere cheese, cheddar works really well. Parmesan also is fine. So we want a generous handful of the cheese. 80 to 100 grams is what we're after. Great. And in it goes. So just using your wooden spoon, fold everything together. Now, choux pastry is usually the base of profiteroles, where you'd bake the choux pastry in the oven and then stuff it with lovely custard. But it's one of those really versatile pastries where you can add a savoury component to it and you can fry it. So this is looking good, so we can start frying. I've got some oil here that's been heating up. You want it to be around the 180 mark, 170, 180. And I'm going to use 2 spoons for this. And because they are quite rich, I want them to be pretty small. I'm going to push them between 2 spoons and in they go. So you'll see all those little bubbles around it. We know that the temperature of the oil is just right. So let's make a few more of these. And once they're golden brown, super crispy, we'll take them out and drain them on some paper towel. How great do these look? They're light, they're fluffy, and they're super crispy. Like always, whenever you're deep frying, you just want to drain on some paper towel. And when they first come out of the oil, a pinch of salt. See how you see those little speckles of ham in there? That's because we've made it super fine. To plate this up, love blue against these. We'll pop them into the centre. Oh, they are so delicious. You know, this with a glass of champagne is my idea of heaven. I want to show you inside. See how fluffy and cheesy they are? Just fantastic. Have a taste. Amazing. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but all these really good recipes are still from Mama Francoise. She's got some good ideas.